Hello, and welcome to this wonderful presentation with Rupert Steffner. Rupert is the founder of Wonder.ai, and he is a longstanding leader in the space of business intelligence. He has a marketing specialization in consumer behavioral insights. So we're going to get a little sneak peek intro, a primer into what it means to work with cognitive AI.
Thanks, Joaquin, for the kind introduction. And today I'm going to talk about cognitive AI in the sense of building AI that understands how people think and feel. Uh, Personally, I've been long the data management MPI in machine learning. And in 2015, I turned to AI. And at the same time, I started working on cognitive AI, which being speaker on large conferences like O'Reilly and topics like building machines that think and sell like humans, lessons from implementing cognitive AI, up to how to mimic your customer's mind with cognitive real-time AI. My company, Wunder, is a marketing AI company with the purpose to give marketing more soul, and we help brands and retailers with the new AI trained to match brands, content, and products with customers' emotional values. So let's start with why we should care about cognitive AI, because if this is not clear, it doesn't make so much sense. AI has come into our lives, and we are partnering in many areas like customer service, personal needs, transportation, workplace, sales, you name it. And this symposium is about human and AI. And if we look at what makes human strengths and AI strengths, we see that humans are good at creativity, innovation, emotional intelligence, empathy, and reasoning. And AI is good at handling large data sets, processing speed, and automation. But we are going to blurry more and more those lines. And today we talk about enhanced creativity and productivity, augmented decision making, emotional AI, and all that stuff. And it's really about managing those blurred lines and we should want smart partners and not idiots, assholes, cretins, or you name it. So really want to have machines that understand what we do and how we think and feel. And there's a corridor to get there. So if we look at the horizontal axis with the AI capabilities, we have systems that sense and perceive information, infer and reasonate, take decisions, and take the action. And on the vertical axis, we have the need for orientation on human values. Let's call this cognitive AI, either to respect, match, or act on these values. And we should have a corridor here. There's a delight zone, and we can always do more, orienting more on human values. But there's also a death zone. So think of systems that autonomously do things and do not respect our values. So they are in the death zone. And if we apply those streams of AI into this corridor, we have recognition AI with detecting something like empathetic AI, all these assistants, co-pilots, and recommenders, responsible AI with decision machines, and then all this autonomous AI with the self X machines driving cars, robotics, and agents, and so on. And if we sum up why cognitive AI, we can say it's about empathy, make AI understand how people think and feel by providing more intuitive and interactive machine-based assistance. And it's about responsible and autonomous AI to make better decisions that are based on human values. And today, we are focusing on the first one here. So what is cognitive AI? Cognitive AI refers to a class of AI systems that are designed to mimic human intelligence. That means they aim to think, learn, and make decisions similar to human intelligence. And the goal is not just to perform tasks, but to understand, reasonate, and interpret the world in a contextually rich, human-like way. So we are mimicking the things of humans. And these are the key components of cognitive AI. It starts with understanding what we're doing here. Once we want to set something in the real world with AI, we have to understand what we mimic. Then it's about to understand how we can represent the knowledge and generate the data of that. By those, we often take help of generative AI. And finally, it's about this linguistic and reasoning and learning part to let our data that we generated work and resonate on the use cases of whatever we do with that. So let's start with the domain knowledge, and this is dealing about human emotion and cognition. And we have to be aware that we are mimicking different human roles here, like car drivers for autonomous driving, co-workers in robotics, patients in mental health, employees in human resources, and what we deal here is customers in marketing. And these emotions and cognition can vary by the human role and business domains because this is a very large, large field. But there's generic and specific parts across roles and domains. For example, emotions are included everywhere. And let's start to understand how customers think and feel. And this is a mix of marketing, consumer behavior research, cognitive science, psychology, and neuroscience. And if we look at the brain with the focus on cognition and emotion, naturally the brain is more complex. Or if we think of memory, this is very distributed. But thinking of cognition and emotion, we have the cognition residing, operating in the prefrontal cortex and the neocortex, and the emotions residing in the limbic brain or reptile brain. And there's a large body of cognitive science already 50 years ago started to examine affective and cognitive components. And then neuroscience joined the game since 2010 with mostly strong validation of cognitive science research. So if emotions play that big part, so if we look at emotion cognition in neuroscience, we can say that emotions are at the value center of decision making. There are major contributions from Kahneman system 1 and system 2 thinking. So we see here that the neocortex is operating at 80 bits per second, while the limbic brain operates at 11,000 bits per second. Then Damasia from MIT, who found out that damage in emotional system hinders people from making decisions. Lisa Feldman Barrett with the theory of constructed emotions, and Cook UCLA, who examined the ads recall effect of rational and emotional topics. And if we sum up, we can say that emotions are fast, low effort, complex but centered, and linked with memory. And if emotions play that big role, we have to be more clear which emotions we talk of. And let's take those 50 years of research in cognitive science to see two major streams. The one is Ekman and others dealing with basic emotions like sadness, happiness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust, while others like Schwartz are dealing with basic human emotional values like self-direction, stimulation, hedonism, achievement, and power. And this is the part which is interesting for us when we want to say, want to find out how people think and feel. And in the Anglosphere, the term emotion is very much synonymized with motivation. So when we're talking about emotions here, it's more or less motivation. And the second interesting question is, how do emotions affect cognition and behavior? And we see one very prominent direct way from emotion to behavior. And in a more complex world, this path is going to be stronger and stronger with Kahneman's system one thinking path, impulse behavior, value-based decision making. Naturally, there are ways that go via cognition, attitudes. This is Kahneman's system too, or even in terms of a planned behavior, if this is a big investment. But be aware that this direct link of emotion and behavior is going stronger and stronger, and this is our fast decision-making path. Some words to cognition or what's on our customer's mind. We can go to lifestyle research, Wells Diggers also 50 years ago, up to film title like Eat, Pray, and Laugh. And what do customers think of? It's about interests, so this large body of travel, drink, eat, learn, play, shop, work, and whatever. It's about trends, it's about styles, it's about body, and much more. So this is the more conscious cognitive part of thinking in our brain. So as we have seen what's in the domain, let's take a look. How can we represent that knowledge? And this is about ontology engineering. So how do we organize emotional and cognitive values? And I strongly recommend to narrow down these things to your business scope, that means walk in your customer's shoes. So one of the first things when I do consulting is, say, select the industry, for example, fashion, and then going to say, okay, the big play is customers are interacting with brands and products, and we want to promise some value with our brands and products, and mostly brands represent emotional and social value, where products represent functional and experiential values. This can be broader sometimes, but this is more or less the state. And then we have to be more precise and very clear in the questions we ask ourselves. So what are the product attributes that make customers' perception of a product from fashion industry? Or what are the emotional and cognitive values of customers when buying from fashion industry? Or finally, how do customers perceive brands and products for fashion industry? And I can tell you, these are questions that are really rarely put into boardrooms, and many companies forget to really ask themselves these questions. So if we take this answer of how customers perceive fashion products, we see with the research that it's brand, style, fit, material, and price value. And if we classify them into the functional value types, then we get a subset of ontologies. In this case here, it's emotion, styles, price, shapes, material. And this is then really the data that matters in our interaction with the customer. So if we want to say how customers think and feel, we have to narrow it down to the business scope and say, okay, but what is it exactly? And this means this is it. So the first thing is to select your ontologies. That means relying on data that really matters. We are all drawn in data. I've long been in data management, and we're talking about many tera or exabytes. So here we have emotions, interests, and styles. Then we're going to build our ontologies. Example here is how can we build an emotion ontology that takes a causal reasoning path from the outer to the inner, for example. And building ontologies in the age of Gen AI is a bit different. So in former days, we only had emotional concepts as a mental model. And I would say this is still good because it's still the better idea of causality here coming from the mental model. But if we include generative AI research to mature and expand, then here we have the better scope of data. And if we're using emotional concepts as mental model for building ontologies, it's navigating the maze of emotion concepts in marketing with Plutchik's wheel of emotions, the big five ocean models, which we know from the Trump Cambridge Analytics scandal, the 16 personalities, emotional archetypes, enneagrams, limbic system, Schwartz value system, you name it. There are many more still. And the second part is then generative AI research is to extend and mature your concept data. So if you ask ChatGPT to give you a long list of emotional values, you will be surprised what's coming out. And then you bring those things together, merging in emotion concepts with the data, and be aware, and you will find out the concepts are just a starting point, because the Gen AI data will make you to explore your initial concept. If we look at this here, something we have done is on the first level, we have around 20 nodes. On the second 150, and even on the outer nodes, we have 2,000 nodes. So there's no concept in the world which represents this wealth of data, which you can get by research. And there are some help here with graph neural networks, but in my personal experience, human reasoning here is still part of the game. So we are not yet there with reasoning that we can apply tools to really build ontologies that represent more or less the causal reasoning of what we later expect. Then next step is review ontologies. This is an example of what we have built with Wunder. It's called the mind graph. It's a knowledge graph, how customers think and feel with emotions, trends, styles, then things like how emotions relate to colors and so on. And as a final step, you can connect your ontologies to mimic human brain's architecture in the way of building emotions in the center, because everything is connected with emotions, and your cognitive thinking, like trends, paths, interest, always refer to some emotional meaning at the same time. Yeah, so this is how we represent data now, and I strongly suggest to separate ontology engineering from knowledge graph or object generation, because this makes it much easier and much better to manage than doing it at the same time. So we can now start to generate knowledge graph objects with generative AI and other data sources. And in this case, our object is the customer. So we want to generate data on how customers think and feel. So let's call it cognitive data, beside of the transaction data, which we got through journeys or custom analytics or other kinds of analysis on customer data. And there are several ways how to capture customers' emotional values. There's a very explicit way. You can ask customers by quizzes, then more implicit, observe them through sentiment analysis or through inference from behavioral data. What does not work, and I will explain later, is observe it through facial recognition. So if you if you want to capture customers' emotional values through quizzes, they should those emotions should be based on your emotional ontology. This saves you a lot of time of interpreting the results, and it saves you the number of questions. And then once this is built on your ontology, this is very dedicated and nothing that needs a lot of work afterwards after your research. So this is one thing how you can do it. The other one is by observation through sentiment analysis. That means extracting and understanding the emotional tone of your text data. Here you have to watch out all the normal things which are crucial for text preprocessing, like the quality of data, being noisy, incomplete or biased, as well as ambiguity and subjectivity. But with sentiment analysis, you have to take special care on language and domain dependency, the contextual understanding, like sarcasm, irony, or nuanced language, if you work with subcultures, for example. And very important, the complexity of emotions, because in this case, you have positive, negative, neutral, or even more complex classifications of your emotions. And this is really important to respect in your analysis here. And there's a third way. This is something which we developed at Wunder, inferring customers' emotions from behavior data. So in the first step, we are going to emotionalize brands, content, and products with our own GPT, our own AI tool, Emotion GPT. And then we have brand and content emotions here. And then we are matching these with custom behavioral data from journeys or sales, matching these brands and products here. And then we infer customers' emotions from that part. So the big cool thing is this is really scalable. And it's very dedicated because it turns to brands and products that are interesting for the customers are interested in, and not going for a very undedicated scope of data. I'm often asked if computer vision can't help, and the answer is no. So computer vision is add, interpret, and analyze visual information from the world. And this contribute to by object recognition, scene reconstruction, or facial recognition. And in this case, and the reason is facial recognition, if we look at these basic emotions, facial recognition should be able to detect these basic emotions, but it will not be able to detect the underlying emotional values behind. So in our case, this is not something we should consider. On the other hand, the EU AI Act is very much limiting facial recognition anyway. So as a result, you get the knowledge graph object, the customer. That means all the nodes that represent an emotion, styles, trends, and interest of your customers to work with and to use for marketing use cases. And in a final step, we should come to pattern AI and reasoning. So taking this knowledge graph data here from C and see how we can make this use this in a reasoning way. And the most promising path to reasoning is neurosymbolic AI. There is one slot in the other symposium here about neurosymbolic AI. And this is a form of composite AI, that means hybrid AI that combines machine learning methods with symbolic systems like knowledge graphs. And this creates more robust and trustworthy AI models. We can eliminate lots of biases here that only derive from machine learning with biased data. And it allows statistical patterns to be combined with explicitly defined rules and knowledge. That means we can represent reason and generalize concepts, and it's more or less providing a reasoning infrastructure for solving a wider range of business problems. That means this is the ability to learn and understand the world in a more complex way, goes over the path of reasoning here. And not only me and others think this is promising. Also, Gartner, they see neurosymbolic AI. It's very young, so it's a very young field, but together with knowledge graphs, this is a very promising way of AI computing. And finally, how can we implement cognitive AI on a high level perspective? So if remember the corridor to get there. So we want to have something, the more the machines get into decision making and action, the more they should consider human values. And if we put that into functional architecture, we can design AI systems with a condition swim lane. So if you look at the lower level, the operational swim line with the goals, the data, AI computing, and the output, we should put another swim line on top with the conditions representing the values and the context. And one of the first things you should consider here is the goals are not the values. This is very important, but many AI engineers do not think of that. So if you think of marketing AI and the goal is to sell products to customers, our condition should be to respect customers' emotional values and match those values here. And the more crucial this is, like autonomous driving, going from A to B, stopping for pedestrians, being a careful driver, the more crucial is that these conditions here are met either during the computing or afterwards. So there are many ways to organize this. And how to manage ethics. This is also can also be done with conditions. If we look at the EU AI Act, which will be enforced by end of the year, we will see that manipulative and deceptive practices will be banned. That means everything that materially distorts a person's decision-making capacity, leading to significant harm. In our case, if we are reinforcing positive emotional values, there is no harm. The second big part, which could be influence, is banning of emotional interference in workplaces and educational institutions. That means inferring emotions in sensitive environments like workplaces and schools. If we deal with emotions in marketing, everything should be fine. But anyhow, we have to respect all the other things. No exploitation of vulnerabilities, no social scoring, no biometric categorization, facial recognition, no real-time biometric identification. But there have been ethics before the EU AI Act with this big approach of human AI collaboration, ethical partnerships, ensuring human oversight. So let's take a look how we can address those and manage those concerns. If it's about bias and fairness, I think from my experience, the high quality data set and in the future, neurosymbolic AI will bring away lots of biases and bring fairness. Neurosymbolic AI also for transparency and explainability. Here we should white box algorithm. Privacy, I think it's a matter of GDPR and synthetic data. So synthetic data is coming up strong. Security, yeah, systems to protect data and the systems itself. Accountability, I think it's finally human responsibility. So everything we take into the real world, there should be humans be accountable for that. And autonomy and human control. This is easy done by separating decision making from action to bring in before action. they say, okay, we want to control the decision before it goes into action. So this should not be, this could be easily be solved. And as a summary, cognitive AI is managing the human factor. So I think it will be part of many more applications when we think all the things where we want to have empathy or other things like customer service, marketing, employee management. And moreover, it's a good way to solve many ethical concerns if we do it right, because if we respect human values, then we respect a lot of things that go in line with ethical concerns. Yeah, thank you for your attention. Happy to connect on LinkedIn. And I don't know, Joaquin, if we should take questions or not.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the chats for for the event. I'd be happy to moderate that. Otherwise, you can reach out directly to Rupert. But I really appreciate you bringing the element of morality, ethics, and regulatory compliance. I know the idea of modeling emotions is something that feels controversial in some aspects, but really it's bringing the science behind things that we already kind of experiment with, anyways, right? Advertising and
Yeah,
these
yeah.
things. Um, it's just mapping things in a more scientific manner now.
Yeah, I think there's long history of emotional positioning or emotions in brand positioning. I think the big examples with Nike and all those shows, I think they always have been they are long in place for marketing to stimulate customers. I think if we are more conscious with that, I think we can get rid of many noise or under it, but also as humans to be better aware what drives our behavior can lead our way to more happiness and luck. And I think being more explicit, more making your unconscious values more explicit helps us to get along in our life. And I think it's not only to use it for business balance, but we can model it and we we should be fair in dealing with it.
There's a comment from Sujin Lee. She's saying emotions is what makes humans complex, and I wholly agree with that statement. We were right before we were going live. We were having a minor discussion around emotions and the human experience and behavioral insights. What led you to this? What led you to pursue this technical endeavor before you were specializing in behavioral consumer behavioral insights? So what led you to this next evolution?
There is an early incident. I wanted always to get behind the meaning of the things. So going more in Aristotle way, there's much more. There's meaning to everything. And then when I started marketing, we had those one that always want to persuade and doing push marketing. I thought, no, uh, we need something that we really understand what people really want, and then serve it, and then coming up with that. So I think business has to take this kind of transparency and fairness. And I really tried to bring marketing. So give marketing more soul means to me also give marketing transparency and fairness, making effective in a way of addressing emotions, but also be come up with the right and positive emotions. And if we look at politics, there are many negative emotions, and so we really can manage ourselves better with being clearer and more conscious on that.
Also, now that we're talking about this subject and after your presentation, in a matter of speaking, this also provides scientific evidence for how other people deploy their advertising or marketing campaigns and how that has an impact on society. So, that's true. It doesn't have to just be used for commercial purposes. It could be used to reinforce regulatory compliance to make sure people are safe in society. So interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So I think emotions are what my conviction is that every kind of emotional bundle is okay. So we just there's nothing. So if we talk of positive emotions, I think we can we can manage negative emotions by putting the counter virtues to that. I think even in mental health, for example, there's a way to deal with negative emotions by replacing or by putting the complementary positive emotions and reinforce the good one. So this is something, and with so much research, I thought it a bit, yeah, some very say disappointing that at the moment when we put AI systems into work, that we really forgot about this emotional affective part of that. There's been an early direction there in 2015, 16 about that, but then it became very technocratic, and I think bringing in again the human factor will make the systems much more pleasant and appealing to when
We
we
have
talk to them.
we have one more question, and then I think we'll close it out. Um, Manas is asking, how are you making sure that cognitive AI does not violate people's privacy?
Um,
I
I
think
would,
you went into that with you abide by European Union standards, and that you're not manipulating, you're not doing anything that may influence them in negative ways, right?
yeah. Um, I would say knowing the emotional values of somebody is not doing harm per se. I think manipulating this and playing on that is something different. But recognizing what drives uh, what drives a person is not a harm, and I think emotion is not a privacy. If you go to a small shop and looking at a product that makes you a smile in your face, then you're showing emotion. So I think emotion itself is part of our behavior. Sometimes it's expressed, sometimes it's the underlying value that drives our decision. But I think knowing emotions is not bad for itself.
It's another type of measurement,
Yeah.
and people have been violating people's privacy with cookies and other unethical marketing advertising practices
Mhm.
way before the solution, right?
Yeah, I think if you look at your best friends, you know what drives them, and it means you know their emotional values. And with friends, you will not do harm with that. And I think in business, we should have the same attitude. If we know something, we should use it for the good. That means that's why you act and all those things come into play to say okay, what, and even if you talk emotions in the workplace, once you apply for a job, they will ask you what makes you drive, because they want to know what's your what's the personal motivation for the things to do. And I think this is not so private, but it's part of your. I think emotions are part of your personality. I think this does not violate privacy, and it's a very important part of the personality.
Rupert, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. It was very well balanced between the human and the AI elements. So,
Thanks a lot. Thanks, the audience, for the questions and your attention.